My name is Hewlin Arvell Johnston, Sr. This is R.A. Wills Heirs Farm. My grandfather purchased this farm around 1942, I think it was. I started farming it in 2010. I wanted to raise more cattle, but we needed additional pasture land. And with the crops growing, it was taking a lot of commercial fertilizer to maintain the average production for this farm. I could see that with the pastures not being productive, we started looking at the soil health. In turn, once we get the soil health back up to a level that we could start using less fertilizer, then we'll go back to maybe row crop some.
Mr. Johnson started working with our office there at the Fishing Creek Soil and Water a few years ago. And because Mr. Johnson had an interest in his row crop system as well as his cattle system here on the farm, we were looking at opportunities to improve the carrying capacity of his farm for his cows and give his perennial pasture systems an opportunity to rest. And that's when we had approached him with integrating some annual forages.
We got involved with Mr. Johnston's farm. He volunteered, actually. There are 7 teams that went through this carbon farm training, about 40 individuals across the state, ranging from Soil and Water Conservation District staff to NRCS staff to private individuals who are owners of the land, learning about opportunities that they can sequester carbon to support their farm and soil health. These 7 teams then worked with a champion farmer to look at conservation practices on the ground. These are practices that are already being utilized across the state in our cost share programs. Mr. Hewlin Johnston received a plan written for him and his farm specifically that looks at those carbon sequestration opportunities.
The cover crops are doing really 2 purposes. In light of the row crop systems, they're acting as an armor for the soil. They're also maintaining that soil moisture level and maintaining a constant soil temperature. From a forage standpoint, they're providing some grazing opportunities for these cows. We have here cereal rye and crimson clover, which are predominant in this mix. Those have done really well. Now you could have as many or as few as you'd like, but the diversity is really key as far as improving your soil organic matter, as well as the dietary needs of those cows, and also the biology in the soil itself.
Being a small farmer, I couldn't handle the cost of the fertilizer, and so I focused more on the soil health and trying to get the soil back to a point where it would take some of the cost of fertilizer away from growing. Natural fertilizer is amazing, I'll be honest with you. It's amazing at how they can eat grass and make such good fertilizer. With all the cow piles that they're putting out there on that farm, the grass is growing. I think I told you earlier when you first started working with me, I wanted to see some earthworms. That was an indication that you got life in your soil.
This earthworm gives us a visual of what is going on with the microbiology here in the soil. The earthworms, they do their part as far as alleviating compaction and moving some things around in the soil. Mr. Johnston has not brought any commercial fertilizer on this farm in a couple of years. The reason being because as he's adapted this grazing system, his soils are better able to cycle nutrients now. So economically it's a benefit to him, environmentally it's a benefit to him. That root profile is improving the infiltration, but it's also improving our water storage capacity as well. We're building drought resilience on this farm. It's a hand in glove, it's a holistic system.
Agriculture has an opportunity to serve as a net carbon sink in terms of climate change, which means that more carbon can be pulled out of the atmosphere than what is emitted through the processes on the farm. This can be done through various practices such as no-till, cover crops, vegetative buffers, silvopasture, planting trees, and nutrient management.
With Mr. Johnston's farm, by him having forestry on his farm, being able to work with him and building the carbon in his forestry, all that's included in his forestry management plan.
I portion off of a section of the trees so that they can retreat to the shade. Cooler the day, they can come back out and graze. And I've got that set up in paddocks where I've got shade on one or both ends of each paddock.
Forestry is a part of agriculture as well. It takes the forestry to make the farm agriculture profitable, and on vice versa, it takes agriculture to make the forestry possible.
Mr. Johnson's done a really good job with this. In the last 3 years, it's been an incredible amount of improvements he's made in just a short period of time.
Now, I won't say that I'm the technical person for understanding all of the aspects of the soil, but I do see a difference in what's growing and how it's growing.